Mr. Michael Hopper is the PGA Assistant Golf Professional at Lookout Mountain Golf Club. For the third consecutive year, the Southwest Section Player of the Year race came down to the final event of the season. Michael Hopper, the PGA Assistant Golf Professional at Lookout Mountain Golf Club, captured the title after shooting a 63 in the Shriners Hospital for Children's Open section qualifier, edging out Marty Jurtson by a single stroke. Michael earned 50 points for qualifying for the PGA Tour event and won the title by 25 points over Marty Jurtson. Michael won his fourth Southwest Section PGA Match Play Championship in extra holes over Dennis Downs in a historic final match. His four titles are second most in the history of the event. He finished with an impressive 68.5 scoring average for the year. Ladies and gentlemen, please help me welcome the Southwest Section PGA Player of the Year, Mr. Michael Hopper.
The first thing I want to say is they always say it's not how good you play, but it's how good you pick your partner. I'm still trying to figure out how to get on one-year teams in one of these section events. So if there's a process, let me know how that is.
Just pay the entry fee and I'm your teammate.
Oh, there you go. I'll do it. So for the third consecutive year, the Player of the Year came down to the final event, and that required you to qualify for the Shriners Tour event for the qualifier. And like Michael said, you had to shoot a 63 and birdie the last hole to win this title this year. So with that said, can you tell me a little, just kind of give me a short recap about your year, what this year, if it was different from any other years playing in the section? And also, what does that say about the level of competition in our section right now?
Sure. Yeah, I mean, the level of competition in this section is pretty steep. I mean, players like Marty, you know, I joke with Marty about that event, and I call it the Jurtson Invitational, that qualifier, because he's made it through like 4 or 5 times. Right. And so, yeah, I mean, it's one of those type of events where you have to play really well. I mean, you know, I got off to a hot start that day, and it was one of those things like I felt like I knew I had to shoot a low score. I mean, 67s and stuff have qualified before, but it was just kind of a different day. And I don't know, I mean, the putts went in. I mean, golf's a fickle game like that. Sometimes you can hit it really close and miss everything, and sometimes you hit it 20 feet and make all of them. But I mean, I knew I had to play well. I knew if I was going to win the Player of the Year, I mean, I knew I had to, something I had to do. I mean, I was just lucky to put it together. I mean, I can't really explain it. It's just one of those things sometimes.
How is this year different compared to other years when you've won this award?
That's a good question. You know, this year was more of a roller coaster kind of a year. You know, I started off the year pretty well. I mean, I played really good at the National PPC. I played kind of poorly the last day, but I played well there. I played well at the match play, the Players Series, but then like the Arizona Open, in the middle of the season, I didn't play very well. The section championship, I didn't play particularly well. So yeah, it was kind of like an up and down kind of a year. Like I played well in the beginning, and then kind of poorly in the middle, and then well at the end. Previous years, I felt like I've overall played more consistent, or I had just a really strong sort of finish to the year. This year, luckily for me, I won the section championship, so I played the Phoenix and then win the Shriners, and getting in that was the difference really in making sure that I won the Player of the Year.
Sure. You mentioned the match play, section match play championship. You've won it 4 times, second most in the history of our section, which is pretty incredible. And I know that your match with Dennis Downs in the championship match was pretty epic. What is it about the match play tournament that suits your game?
You know, I think, and if anybody that knows me, I'm very even keel, and so match play is unique in that, you know, you can get, you know, you could potentially be up 3 or 4 up really early in a match, or you could be 3 or 4 down really early in a match. And I mean, I guess the fact that I have done well enough in tournament golf to kind of not get too high and too low has sort of helped me. I mean, match play, I think, it's got to be the most fun way to play golf. I mean, I used to play a lot of, you know, 5-5-5 Nassau type things where we would press like a million times and the last hole might be worth $100. So that was like some good pressure, to kind of match play type pressure. But yeah, I don't, you know, I can't really, I don't know why. Like I've just done well, especially the last couple of years. I didn't get out of the first round for like 3 years straight, I think, and then I've been in the final match like 4 years straight. So
is there an importance to winning that first section major, that match play, to kind of kickstart your season, do you think?
Nah, I mean, I don't know. It has done that for me. Last year, I started, it was like one of my worst starts ever to a section tournament series or season. And I lost in the final match that year in the match play. And it definitely propelled me to have a good finish to the year in terms of winning the section championship and that kind of thing. But I mean, I'm trying to play well in all of them. Hopefully, I can't really put my finger on one event really, setting me off for the rest of the season per se. But
So you're at a very busy golf club at Lookout Mountain. You're an assistant golf pro there. And I think we've asked you this every year. I think we're all amazed is how does a golf professional in the business maintain the type of level that you play at? So how do you balance your time of maintaining your game? Is it natural talent? Do you put a lot of work? I'm sure there's some natural talent in you, but do you dedicate a set amount of time to work on your game while trying to manage the operation?
I mean, I try to. I'm not a person that practices a lot in terms of quantity of practice, but I do try and practice almost every day. Yeah. I'm trying to, and it might only be 30 minutes. I mean, the range is going to close. I just got out of work. I'm going to go hit balls for 30 minutes, that kind of thing. Mm-hmm. But I'm not really grinding per se. But it's funny, I mean, if I take a week off and I go to the range, I feel like I'm a new golfer, like I forgot how to hit the ball. So I feel like I have to maintain sort of just a little bit of at the range time or whatever in it. Fortunately, in terms of time off to be able to play tournaments, most of the rounds of golf I play are like the day, practice rounds for tournaments. And fortunately, the staff at Lookout Mountain's been, awesome in that regard. I mean, I've never had any challenges in terms of being able to play in events and stuff like that. And I mean, if I wanted to practice more, I probably could get away with it, but I mean, I understand like it's, we're in the golf business, like, the job really comes first. And then, I try and if I got a little bit extra time after that, then I'll try and practice.
Yeah. Well, as you know, there's a lot of deep and rich playing history in the Southwest section over the many years that we've been in existence. This is now your 5th time that you've won this award. Considering the type of names that you've seen in the history of the Southwest section, what does that mean to you to be included as one of the best players?
I mean, it's hard to fathom, really. Like when I first got into the section and started playing and started playing well, it was one of those things that spurred me on to try and play better and try and get better and be better. And I mean, I've just been lucky. I mean, I think some of the events that I've won or things like this year, I mean, I had to shoot 9 under for crying out loud to win. Right. 9 under rounds aren't like I'm not shooting those every week. So I mean, sometimes, the chips just fall the way they do, and I've just been very fortunate.
Did you know what you had to shoot that day to clip to get this title?
No, and I mean, to Marty's credit, he did. And so he was a couple of groups behind me, and he saw what I shot. I mean, he birdied his last 4 holes. Wow. It's just, yes. I mean, the guy like him and like a lot of the players in our section, like Dennis in that match play, I mean, they're so good. I started off really good that day, and you just had that feeling that I just had to keep making birdies because it was just, there was no wind. It was one of those deals where I just knew I had to play really well. And I mean, I was very lucky. I mean, I made like a 4-footer on the last hole. I mean, if I was in a playoff with Marty, who knows what might happen.
Tell me a little bit about the Arizona Open. And I say that not to take away from the positivity of what you've accomplished in the section, but I know you've won every major with the exception of that one title. How big of a priority is that moving forward?
Yeah, I mean, it's really not that big of a priority, honestly. I would really like to win that, and I've had pretty good success in that event. I think for our section, that's the toughest event to win. I mean, it's the toughest field. Yeah. With all the qualifiers and all sort of the tour guys that show up, mini tour guys. I think it would, to win that would really be like, okay, this guy's just not beating club pros, So I don't know. I don't put a lot of pressure on it. I mean, I want to play well in every event. It's not gonna make or break me if I win or lose it, but I'd like to play well and give myself a chance.
I know there's a lot of people rooting for you for the sake of history. I think it would be cool to say, I worked in a section, I was part of a section during the Michael Hopper era. I mean, everybody, when you talk about great players in the section, everyone's chasing Hopper, and I think that would just be the icing on the cake. And I know you have a lot of people rooting for you to win that tournament. And it's because of players like you that down the road you end up with trophies named after people. and I say that in all seriousness because as long as I've been in this section, your name has been out there. So I applaud you for what you do for we're not out there winning the checks or making those great rounds, but you represent us all in the way you play, even on a national level. So congratulations on that.
Thank you. Thanks.
Is there anyone you want to thank tonight or give a shout out
Well,
to?
my better half, Angelique, couldn't make it here tonight. Her father's older, and she's got to take care of him, and so she had to stay home. But I did bring my daughter, my 10-year-old Cadence, back there. I told her I wouldn't point her out, but
She's there.
so, I mean, they're great. It's funny, Angelique, she's my biggest supporter, but if I come home like right after work and I didn't go to the range, she's the first one to be like, why aren't you practicing? Why didn't you go practice today, And I'm very lucky because I know that's not the case for everybody, and so I'm sure I take it for granted sometimes, but yeah, she's great.
Yeah. Well, like I said, you're awesome at what you do. Congratulations on your award, and I know we're going to see you up again and again and again.
I hope so.
Keep moving on.
All right,
Great
thanks.
job.